In this game, you will be able to see how Fischer spun a web of threats around his opponent Oscar Panno's king, and Fischer is playing with the white pieces here, and Oscar is playing with the black pieces. So this is the Sicilian. Oscar is playing the Sicilian, and it's the Sicilian defense that is being played by Fischer, the French variation. So and now the knight goes to c6 and g3 by Fischer with the intention of shooting his bishop to g2, following the King's Indian line of opening, and g6 by Oscar as well, bringing his bishop into the diagonal as well. So bishop to g2 by Fischer and bishop to g7 by Oscar, threatening the b2 pawn over here so that you can't move your bishop as of now. So castles by Fischer as of the sixth move, and the knight goes to e7, keeping up this threat on this particular b2 pawn. So the knight develops here. If he develops here, Fischer can just develop his knight here, or now he'll have to push the pawn. So rook to e1 now as of the seventh move, creating an extra attack on the king, and d6 by Oscar, and activating his light square bishop. And now Fischer plays c3, eliminating this threat of this bishop as of now, allowing his and also allowing the push of the d4 pawn later on. So Oscar now castles on the king's side, and Fischer immediately pushes d4. And after the c pawn takes the d4 pawns, the pawns get exchanged, and d5 by Oscar now attacking that pawn in the center. Fischer did not go for the capture and pushes e5, allowing in these two little nice outposts in the center of the board. So bishop to d7 now by Oscar, and this c file is already open, and getting your rooks here will be nice. So Fischer first develops his knight to c3, and Oscar immediately brings his rook into c8, and Fischer now develops his bishop to f4, and knight to a5, looking to go into this particular outpost over here. So Fischer brings his rook to c1, countering Oscar's rook, and the push of b5, intending to push away this knight after that b4 will happen. So b3 by Fischer, preventing this knight from coming here, and b4 by Oscar. Now the knight will have to retrieve, and it retrieves to e2, and after that the bishop comes to b5, attacking this knight, and the queen goes to d2, connecting both the rooks, and a good move. So knight to c6 by Oscar, covering up that particular open c file, and the pawn push of g4. So here, as you can see, Fischer's king is pretty well protected, so he's going out on the attack as early as possible because of the position, or because of all this pawn structure. There is not much threat on the king right now. So the knight to g3 is played, getting ready for the attack, and the bishop and that particular pawn structure protect the king, and there is nothing much Fischer to be worried about the king right now. So queen come to b6, trying to create an attack through the queen side, through the open lines, open files here, and h4 by Fischer. Fischer is going out for the attack on the king side, while Oscar is trying to attack on the queen side. So the knight now goes to b8, rearranging the knight, and also opening up the c file again, and Fischer just go to bishop to h6, trying to remove this bishop who is defending the king here. So any attack to succeed, you need to take the care of this bishop first, and that's why this battery of queen and bishop is created earlier. So the knight now comes to d7, reorienting the knight, taking care of this particular good square, this outpost for Fischer, and the queen comes to g5 as of the 22nd move. So the rooks get exchanged, and also the bishops also get exchanged, bringing the queen into the h6 square, a crucial square, and the rook now comes to c8. So Fischer immediately goes for the exchange of the rook, and the knight will have to go back, um, capturing the rook back. So as you can see, the knights are basically on the 7th and 8th rank. Not an ideal situation, because you need the knight to be in the center of the board for them to be active. So they are helping defensively, but Fischer goes ahead with the attack and pushes h5, attacking the pawn structure. So the queen retreats to d8 now, trying to support the king, and the knight jumps to g5, threatening checkmate here. So the knight to f8 move is played, covering that attack. So this pawn is now guarded, avoiding the checkmate. and the bishop to e4 move is played. So here you'll be wondering what will happen if you uh, take the bishop. So if you take the bishop, the game is as good as dead, and you will effectively lose the queen as well. So for the following combinations will happen, and after the check, basically both these knights are attacking, and if you capture with this knight, it will be checkmate in the next move. So you will have to capture the following knight, otherwise it will be checkmate anyway. So the queen will be gone with a check, and soon the game will be over basically. So that's why the capture didn't happen as of this position. So Oscar didn't go for that capture. He understood what it means, and here Fischer goes for the capture of this pawn. It's also defended by the knight here, but there was also another move that Fischer could have played in this position, that is knight to f5 over here. So even if in this position, if you capture the knight, it will lead to a checkmate like this. So here as well, even if you capture this bishop here, it will be a checkmate, or a game is as good as done basically. So the further lines will show that it's a checkmate. So I'm not going in depth. I'm just showing you what will happen. So this move was not played, and Fischer goes for the capture of this pawn, and the knight captures back. And now the pawn captures the g6 pawn, h pawn, and the pawn captures back, and the bishop goes and captures the g6 pawn, attacking this knight, which is well defended. But now the knight jumps to g5, also protecting that same square as well. But it was better to bring your queen here to g7, going for a queen exchange, preventing the checkmate threat. But that didn't happen. So he wanted to create a counter play, Oscar, but after the knight move, you cannot now bring your queen here, and then the check. Oscar creates a check, and the king moves up. And once after the following checks, he just captures the bishop here. Fischer don't even bother about recapturing. He just creates this check with this knight, with using that outpost, that pawn outpost, the important outpost. And after that, once the king moves, he just places his queen over here at 7, and it's already a checkmate on the board. The king cannot go down because of the knight here, and it's blocked by the other squares as well. So basically, once the king goes here, you can just bring your queen over here, and it will be game over. So that will be the continuation. Yes, the king can go here, but if you just place this checkmate, there is nothing much you can do on the board, and the game will end. So the game ended as of this position. So nice little attacking game, a lot of threats and uh, attack from the Fischer, starting with his pushing of this g4 and h4 pawn, creating a strong attack, while at the same time keeping his king safe as well. And as you can see, this bishop here is standing as a lone spectator on what's going on basically, and he didn't even participate in the game as well. So it's like Oscar was down by a piece throughout the match. So it's not just the number of pieces. What you can do with these pieces also matters. So we have to take care of this idea in our games. So thanks very much for watching. We'll be back with more such videos of Fischer and other great players.